Hi all, good afternoon. I think it's almost time to start with the next parallel session number 3. This one is being presented by Joris Dircx from Mainnovation, and it's called Continuously Learning and Improvement with the VDMXL Control Panel. Of course, the presentation will take about approximately 10 minutes. There will be room for some questions afterwards for like 5 minutes or something. You can also provide us with your questions during the presentation, but we will answer them after the presentation. So I would like to give the word to Joris. I'm going to give you the control of the slides, and I wish you good luck.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin. I will share my screen as I will be showing some live demo. Let me see. Screen. Voilà. Okay. The topic of today, of the next 10 minutes, is the VDMXL Control Panel in Power BI. But let me first introduce myself. I have quite some years of experience in business intelligence in the maintenance and asset management context, and did quite some implementations of different CMMS systems, amongst others, Ultimo. And the goal of today is that I explain you the VDMXL Control Panel, which is based on the methodology that we as Mainnovation have established. That is the value-driven maintenance methodology, where we say that maintenance and asset management can create value through 4 different value drivers, being focusing on uptime, on costs, on capital allocation, meaning lifetime extension, for example, and everything that is check related, where we translate that in value and see what is the dominant value driver. But to be able to measure that, we always dive one level deeper through what we call the competence model, where you see the same value drivers that pop up again, but where we bring together all maintenance and asset management related processes like reliability engineering, planning and scheduling, job execution, and all the supporting processes like outsourcing, spare parts, skills, and others. In total, we have 12. And with the VDMXL Control Panel, we try to measure those and give you enough analytical capabilities to see why something is going well or not, and how you can improve. So that's the continuous learning approach within the control panel. And it is set up like this, where you have the dashboard at a higher level, and on each of the KPIs, you can drill through to underlying dashboards which help you explain what is going well, where you should focus on, and eventually you drill through until Ultimo itself, where you have all the details, long text, etc., at your fingertips. Okay, I'm going to leave the slides now and show you the control panel directly in the tool itself. That gives a much better insight. So now you see the VDMXL control panel. And what you see here is the more strategic part of the control panel, being the value driver part, where for each of the value drivers, you can see how you're doing for all sites for which you are responsible, or for only one or two, depending on what you should focus on. Now, if you have multi-site responsibility, you could also say, okay, show me this on a geographical map. And then you could say, okay, I'm going to zoom in on that map. I have some delays because of the broadcast, I think. Oh, okay, going back. So here you should see the map with the different sites and how they are doing for the different KPIs, like percentage of breakdowns in case of asset utilization, number of safety critical jobs that you do on time, how you're doing with regards to costs, OPEX, and CAPEX. Now, if you want to compare all of those sites, we have developed a benchmarking dashboard where you see the same value drivers, but for each of the sites, one next to the other, and you can easily compare who is doing well for one or for another, and see where you have learning opportunities one side towards another. But on a day-to-day level, we don't measure the value drivers. There we dive one step deeper. There we dive into what we call the competence model. And on the competence model, we regroup all 12 maintenance and asset management processes, like reliability, where the KPI for us is the percentage of preventive maintenance costs towards all maintenance-related costs. How are we doing with job execution with respect of the week plan? How are we doing with regards to planning and scheduling, etc.? And behind each of these graphs, we have, as you see here on the left side, a dashboard explaining how you are doing with regards to each KPI. So if I go now, for example, to reliability engineering, and I click on that dashboard, then you will see the same KPI pops up, how much percentage of our costs go to preventive maintenance. With the sliders, we can narrow the time, or it can go further back in the past as we want. And here, for example, with a bubble chart, you can see, okay, for which equipment types are we investing a lot of preventive while having a lot of breakdown at the same time. And then you can say, okay, I'm going to drill down on, for example, this equipment type. And I see that this equipment is in the right upper corner, so that deserves my attention. I click on it, I can see for that equipment, okay, which were the failure causes, how is it doing cost-wise, what is the trend of the breakdowns, and I can also say, okay, let's go one step deeper and investigate the details. And with details, we see then the detailed list of all work orders, and from here on, we can even say, okay, I'm going to click through to Ultimo itself, where I will have access to the work order with the long text and all the data that is registered on the job itself. Now, if you want to change, for example, this dashboard, because every company is different and has other requirements, as is this Power BI, you can easily say, okay, I'm going to change this graph. And I'm not interested in the failure causes, but I want to see, for example, the symptoms, and I can easily access that here, change it. And now this shows you the symptoms. You can switch the graph layout like that. And the only thing we need to change then is the title afterwards. But okay, given the time, I'm not going to do that now, but now this visualizes the symptoms for the same equipment. If I filter on it, and I have the same. If I want to reset it, just go back to my default and I see the default again. And like that, we have it for, if I take, for example, job execution, for each of the competences, we have a different dashboard explaining how you're doing. So for job execution, we take a snapshot every week where we say, okay, what is the week plan for next week? And how are we doing with regards to that week plan? What did we execute of what we planned? What did we execute on top, being the yellow part? So we didn't plan it, but we did it nevertheless. And of everything that we planned, the red, what did we not do of what we planned? So we did this instead of this, and the red was planned nevertheless. So that's something that deserves our attention. And here again, we can dive into the details and see, okay, what was actually planned and not executed. And there again, we have access to Ultimo if you want to see more details. And other things we calculate, for example, at the first time right indicator, where we see, okay, we did a maintenance activity. Did we have within the next 5 days a breakdown on the same asset, yes or no? And there we can see, okay, is this normal? Is it due to the asset? Is it due to the competences of the technician? Different analyses are possible, but like that, you get a direct insight in the jobs you should focus on. As this is Power BI, this is very flexible. We also have some analysis dashboards, for example, for reliability engineering, but we also have the possibility to have Power BI itself look into the data and analyze the key influencers on our data. So here, Power BI itself looks at the breakdowns and searches for those key influencers that have a major impact on the number of breakdowns. If I click this, now we only see in the graph the key influencers itself, and now we see that this manufacturer has an impact, but also equipments of this type, and like that. And the list is long, but the highest priorities are here on top. Here at the left-hand side, which is now empty, you normally see a map But as I had in the beginning, we have some issues with those due to the Zoom meeting, I assume. If I take another dashboard like planning and scheduling, there you see that we have two. On the one hand, we have the scheduling part where we measure how we are doing with our planning. Are we compliant, yes or no? How many jobs are entering our workflow with a high priority? For example, if everything is prio high, that would mean that we don't do our gatekeeping very well. We also measure the trend of the open jobs per status. And this gives an indication of the fact that there might be bottlenecks in our workflow. If we see that, for example, jobs to be approved, that number becomes higher and higher and higher, then we know that in our approval step in the workflow, we have an issue.
Sorry to interrupt you, Joris, but we only have 5 minutes left. So please,
yeah, I can keep on talking. So maybe some questions then.
I understand, but maybe highlight some things and then we go to the questions.
Yeah, for me, I'm ready for questions. The only thing that might be useful here is that, for example, the backlog where we visualize all open jobs, and what you always see in every CMMS that there are some jobs that stay open of the past, and here you get a direct insight on them and you can decide on them, okay, what do we need to do? Do we need to reschedule? Do we need to cancel them? But you need to take some action on them, and you can do that starting from the control panel itself. So it's really also an operational tool and not only a visualization tool that you use once a month, for example, when you need to do some reporting towards the management. Goal is really to use it on a day-to-day basis. Voila. I'm ready for questions.
Right, nice. I'm going to stop your demo because then everyone can see my screen again. Yeah, we received a question. It's about how does these dashboards work along with the custom fields or tables in Ultimo? Yeah,
we of course we cannot foresee if there are if you use any custom fields. But what we did is we have established the control panel like that we have a data warehouse underneath where we enter all the complete tables from Ultimo in staging tables, and from there on we map them in our generic data model. So if you have a custom field, it will enter in our staging area, and from there on we will add it to for example the equipment dimension if it's an attribute of an asset, or we will add it to the supplier dimension if it's an attribute of a supplier of the job. Depends on the object, but the model is very flexible and allows us to add attributes very fast and very easily.
All right, and does the control panel work on any Ultimo version? Does it work in the cloud? Could you give us some more information about that?
Yeah, the control panel works preferably in the cloud, of course, because that's for us easiest to manage, because then we have direct access and we can support you very well. But we have also clients where it is on premise and where it runs on the infrastructure of our clients itself. So the two are possible, and it works on let's say any version of Ultimo, because what we see is that the data we use from the IAM system is really the core data that we use to plan and schedule our jobs and where we register the execution of the job. So data that was there for a long time in Ultimo. So there we see at our different clients that we don't have any issues with that.
All right, and could you also ask for a test version?
Yeah. What we do then is it takes about 1 day. If you have Ultimo running in the cloud, for example, then for us it's 1 day of getting everything up and running, and then you could have access for a certain period to test it yourself and to see what the added value is that it could bring to you and your organization. So that's how we typically do that.
All right, and then there's a question about the implementation. How long does it take and how does it work?
Well, we always split it up in 2 parts. On one hand, we have the technical implementation. And like I said, that's there the duration is rather limited. If it is in the cloud environment, then it takes 1 or 2 days. If it is on premise, then we have to talk with IT and see that you have a server, etc. So there it takes a bit longer because of things we have to set up. And then you have the organizational implementation, where we typically help you with which KPIs to discuss in which meeting, or set up a sort of meeting structure so that the information in the VCP is really used on a day-to-day basis in the right meeting structures, and that actions can be taken onto the KPIs. So it's not only a technical tool for us; it's really an instrument to help you improve. That's for us very, very important.
All right, nice. And I think we're just in time. That was the last question. So Joris, I would like to thank you for your demonstration of the control panel.
Thank you.
And I want to thank the audience for watching, for all the questions they provided, yeah, up to the next parallel session that starts within 5 minutes. So thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.